Right. So you want to know the secret to setting the perfect mood for your event, huh? Well, after looking at this blog post by Damian Pollan, I think we might have found the answer.
This Damian Polin guy seems to really know his stuff.
Yeah, he's got a really successful DJ company, and in his blog, he talks about how to make sure the music is totally perfect for any event.
Makes sense that he would know a thing or two about that. So what's the big secret? Is it all about just picking the right playlist?
He says that's actually where a lot of less experienced DJs get it wrong.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just about the playlist, it's about the whole experience. Like, think about a time you've been to like a wedding or a party or something, and the music was fine, but the vibe was just off.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Poland says that happens when the DJ doesn't really get what the client wants. He says understanding the client's vision is the most important thing.
So how do you do that? Like, how do you get inside a client's head and figure out the perfect vibe?
Well, Poland has this whole strategy he uses, like asking really specific questions that get the client thinking beyond just like a list of songs.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
He says, instead of asking, what kind of music do you want? He'll say something like, paint me a picture of your perfect night.
Oh, I like that.
Right. It makes them think about the feeling they want to create, not just the songs.
It's true. If you just ask for a list of songs, you don't get any of the why behind it. Like, why that song? What's the feeling you're going for?
Exactly. And then he says another really important question to ask is, what's the single most important part of your night?
Interesting. So it's like, are we talking about a packed dance floor all night long? Or is it more about creating a specific mood?
Yeah. Like, do you want your grandparents to feel comfortable enough to dance, or are you aiming for a crazy rave? Those are two totally different vibes.
For sure. You really need to know what the priorities are.
Exactly. And he says the way you ask these questions is important too. Like, you
Right.
have to really listen to the answers and pay attention to what the client emphasizes. It's almost like being a therapist.
It's like you're trying to understand their musical soul.
Totally. And that level of understanding, that's what makes the difference between a good DJ and a truly great one.
Yeah.
So we've talked about understanding the client's vision, but how do you actually put that into practice? Like, how do you take all that and turn it into a set list?
Well, that's where things can get a little tricky because you've got the client's vision, but then you also have things like guest requests and the DJ's own instincts about what will work on the dance floor.
Right. It's like a three-way balancing act.
Exactly. And Poland actually gives some really great advice for how to handle that. He says the key is to be really upfront and transparent with the client from the very beginning.
Oh, I like that. So it's not about being afraid to push back a little if you need to.
It's not about pushing back, it's about making sure everyone's on the same page. Like, for example, he says one of the first things you should do is talk to the client about their playlist.
Ah, yes, the dreaded playlist,
Right, because sometimes those playlists can be a little all over the place.
to put it mildly.
Exactly. So Poland says you should ask something like, how important is it to you that we played all the songs on this list?
That's a good question. It gives them a chance to tell you what their priorities are.
Right. Because maybe there are a few songs on there that are non-negotiable, but the rest they're flexible on. Or maybe they're really attached to the whole thing.
And you need to know that up front.
Exactly. And then he says another important thing to address is guest requests. He says you should ask the client, how do you feel about me taking guest requests? Should I prioritize them or use them sparingly?
Oh, that's such a good question. Because as a guest, I know I'm always a little hesitant to request a song unless I know the DJ is open to it.
And on the flip side, as a DJ, you don't want to get stuck playing a bunch of random requests that totally kill the mood.
Exactly. So by asking that question up front, you're basically giving the client permission to set some boundaries.
Exactly. And then Poland says the third question you should ask is, how much freedom would you like me to have in reading the crowd and selecting music?
Okay, so this is where the DJ's expertise really comes in.
Exactly. Because a good DJ can read the room and know what song to play next to keep the energy going.
It's like an art form.
It really is. And by asking that question, you're letting the client know that you're not just going to be following a pre-made playlist. You're going to be using your skills and experience to create the perfect vibe.
And that's valuable.
Exactly. And I think it also helps the client relax a little bit knowing that they don't have to micromanage every single song.
Right. They can trust you to do your thing.
Exactly. And Poland even says it's a good idea to give the client some concrete examples of how these different scenarios might play out.
Oh, like what? Give me an example.
So let's say the client is really into indie rock, but they're having a big wedding with a mixed crowd. You might say something like, if we stick strictly to indie rock, there's a chance some guests might not feel comfortable dancing. Would you be open to me mixing in some more popular songs that still fit the overall vibe?
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Because you're not saying their taste in music is bad.
Yeah.
You're just saying you want to make sure everyone has a good time.
Exactly. It's all about framing it in a way that's helpful and collaborative.
I love that. So it sounds like Poland's approach is really about communication and collaboration more than anything else.
Absolutely. He says it's not about dictating the music, it's about working together to create something truly special.
And when you have that shared understanding, that's when the magic really happens. It's like you're saying, don't just follow your heart, use your head too. And it makes sense because you're not just creating a playlist for yourself, right? You're creating an experience for a whole group of people.
And that's something he really emphasizes. He even says these principles can apply to any situation where music is important, like even just hosting a dinner party.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to blast techno at a chill dinner party, are you? Unless that's your vibe, I guess.
Right. It's about reading the room, even if it's your own living room.
Exactly. Okay, so to kind of wrap things up, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from all of this?
I think for me, it's the importance of communication and collaboration. Like Poland talks about how important it is to understand the client's vision, but he also talks about how to communicate your own vision as a DJ.
That's so true. And I think that applies to anyone who's ever put together a playlist for someone else.
Yeah.
It's not just about the songs themselves. It's about understanding the why behind them.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
if you can get on the same page about that, then you're golden.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super inspired right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Ready to go put on my DJ hat.
Huh. Same here. Well, that's it for this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. See you next time.